A+4 day, 24th of October. The Japanese Southern Force had been under aerial attack by planes of Task Force 38 and was last observed at 11:55 local time on October 24th, heading east in the Sulu Sea. This enemy force was apparently bound for Leyte Gulf through Surigao Strait, its southern entrance, a backdoor attack which, if successful, would play havoc with our naval forces covering the landing on Leyte. The prevention of such a catastrophe was a problem for Commander Task Force 77, whose assigned mission was to cover the landing operations at Leyte Gulf and to destroy enemy forces attempting an entrance. Consequently, it was Vice Admiral KinKaid who initiated plans which resulted in the following disposition of the 7th Fleet forces. The carriers of Task Group 77.4, 50 miles east of Homenhan Island, with their escorts, were disposed in 3 task units on a north-south line at mutually supporting distances. A destroyer picket squadron, Desron 54, under Commander Task Group 79.11, had maintained an anti-submarine screen across the eastern and southern entrance to Leyte Gulf since the morning of the 20th. These destroyers would continue to patrol their stations until an enemy contact was established, when they would strike in 2 sections. About mid-afternoon, 24 PT boats in 8 sections of 3 each left San Pedro Bay and moved down the strait to assigned stations in the area between Panoan, Dinagat, and Mindanao Islands. In late afternoon, 5 sections of PTs departed a newly established base at Leoland Bay on Panoan Island and took assigned stations in eastern Mindanao Sea. Each section was instructed to report enemy sightings by radio to our heavier forces and then to attack independently. A complete coverage of the approaches to Surigao Strait was thus established, ensuring easy detection of the enemy by whatever route he might arrive. Based upon our last air search contact, the enemy could arrive at the strait around midnight. His forces were estimated to be 2 battleships, 4 heavy cruisers, 4 light cruisers, and 10 destroyers. Shortly after 1800, battle units of Task Group 77.2 under Rear Admiral Oldendorf took assigned stations with the battle line at latitude 10 degrees 35 minutes north above the picket line of Desron 54. There were the old battleships Mississippi, Maryland, and West Virginia, Pennsylvania, California, and Tennessee, screened to the northward by Des Division X-Ray with Aulick, Wells, and Sigourney on the east, and Claxton, Connie, and Thorne on the west. A left flank was formed composed of Cruiser Division 12, Columbia and Denver, and Division 4, Minneapolis, Portland, and Louisville, flagship of Commander Task Group 77.2. The cruisers were screened by Destroyer Squadron 56. Grant, Leary, and Newcomb in Section 1, Bryant, Halford, and Robinson in Section 2, and Binion, Lutz, and Edwards in Section 3. The right flank was composed of Cruiser Division 15, Phoenix, Boise, and HMS Shropshire, screened by Destroyer Squadron 24, Hutchins, Daly, and Bache, and HMS Arunta, plus Beale and Killen. According to plan, Task Group 77.2 was to steam east and west at 5 knots between east longitudes 125 degrees 16 minutes and 125 degrees 27 minutes, maintaining a position to block an entrance to Leyte Gulf from both the south and the east. A well-founded precaution, as later events have proven. Before the forming of this disposition, Commander Task Group 77.2 held a conference with commanders of the right flank and battle line. The general shortage of all types of ammunition throughout the force was discussed. Bombardments supporting the Leyte landings had drawn heavily on all ammunition supplies. Therefore, it was essential that gunfire be at ranges where the percentage of hits and fire effect would both be high. This was settled on as between 17 and 20,000 yards. It was also pointed out that this appeared to be a wonderful opportunity for using destroyers in the offensive role for which they were designed. Destroyer main battery attacks would be made before the enemy came within range of heavy ships, in order to disrupt his formation and soften him up. The necessity for destroyers keeping to the sides of the strait in attacking and retiring was stressed. A land background would probably render Jap radar ineffective, and destroyers returning to stations would be out of the line of fire of our heavy ships. Destroyers would otherwise proceed according to doctrine to exploit the element of surprise and to avoid enemy counterattacks with torpedoes. Both commanders, right flank forces and battle line, were very enthusiastic about the plans and were thoroughly indoctrinated as to the policies of the task group commander, he taking charge of left flank forces. There is no doubt that such conferences are often vital to the success of any operation and should be held before an important action whenever practicable. Instructions were passed on to other commanders, and so with everyone informed of the plans and the ships on station, the trap is set. Desron 24 has deployed below the right flank cruisers close to shore. The sea is calm with an 8-knot wind from the northwest. Cloud coverage is about 90% with the promise of thunder showers soon. The moon will set shortly after midnight, promising the darkness necessary for a surprise and advantage of superior radar.